All right. I understand we are all very excited about Spider-Man No Way Home's new re-release with more footage, the more fun stuff version, if you will. And I traveled all the way out to London to go and see that extended cut. They didn't have any showings locally, but also me and my buddy Arnie, we kind of made a day of it. So, is it worth it? Is it worth buying another cinema ticket to see Spider-Man No Way Home on the big screen again with the new footage when you have the alternative of watching it on Blu-ray, in bed, naked, without getting arrested? And what can you expect from this new extended cut? I'll be weighing in my thoughts. We will get a little spoilery later, but you will be given ample warning.
Hi, everybody! You like Spider-Man, huh? Well, I own Spider-Man, not the film rights, though. Those belong to Sony. But you know what I don't own the rights to? Channel Pop, which you should subscribe to. Hit the subscribe button to subscribe to him, I guess. And also hit the like button, because YouTube's algorithm is kind of a pain in the ass. But if the video gets a lot of likes, maybe Susan Wojcicki will actually recommend it. But if that doesn't happen, just take it from me. We live in a greedy capitalist economy, and Pop has bills to pay, and he has to pay for his Adobe subscription to make this kind of content for you. So if you want to help him out, you can check out the patron in the description below. Enjoy the rest of the video.
So, you want to go pay to see a film in theaters that you already own on Blu-ray. And sure, it does feel like Sony might just be shaking us down for extra cash at this point. But to sweeten the deal, we've got an extra 11 minutes. Is it worth doing this again? I think there is a right and wrong way of watching Spider-Man No Way Home, the more fun stuff version. The wrong way is to just go and see the film for those extra 11 minutes, purely for that. If you want to see what has been added, it doesn't make the film better. It is just fluff. And you know, the title of the more fun stuff version, to be fair, is a pretty appropriate title, as horribly wince-worthy as it sounds. I think the best way to justify this one is if you want to get the big screen experience for Spider-Man No Way Home again, and you just want to watch it purely from the perspective of, oh, I'm gonna watch Spider-Man No Way Home again, without any expectations regarding the extension. Also, I highly recommend making it part of a day out. That definitely sweetens the deal. But it's a tough sell, this one, especially when the movie is already out on Blu-ray, which wasn't something that Spider-Man Far From Home's extended cut had to contend with, because they re-released the film in theaters with the additional footage before the Blu-ray release, which was, if anything, quite a bit smarter. So the bottom line is, it's still Spider-Man Far From Home, so therefore, it's still a fantastic movie, easily one of the most emotionally engaging MCU films to date, a total celebration of Spider-Man, so if you want to have that experience of seeing it on the big screen again, round up your Spider buddies and watch the film with them. That is the big qualifying statement of which I can recommend this version of the film with. Is this a better version of the film, though? No. All of this stuff that is in this new cut, I could completely give or take. Like, when this stuff rolled around, I remember turning to my buddy Arnie and saying, yeah, I can understand why that didn't make the final cut. You're not getting, like, a better movie or a night and day movie out of this new footage. This is just one purely for the fans that want to see some deleted scenes, I would say. So overall, would I recommend it? If you're a super fan of the film, you really want to see it on the big screen again, and you want to bring your buddies out for a day out, and you want to do it that way, yeah. Any other way? Nah. It's not worth it. I think that's the thing with, like, this extended cut stuff is, like, the film was already really, really good. This isn't like a Batman v Superman situation where it needed those extra minutes added on. Like, for example, Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition. That film was just night and day when compared to, like, the original theatrical release. Like, it resolved a lot of the issues that I had with that. I didn't have many issues with Spider-Man No Way Home, and this new re-release doesn't have much to address in that regard. The only thing I guess I would say that is outright better than the original release is the after credits this time. You're not just getting a trailer for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, you're actually getting its own devoted after credits scene, and it's a very good one at that. It's one where I kind of think, yeah, that should have actually been in the original release. On a whole though, Spider-Man No Way Home, as far as extended cuts go, I certainly prefer it to circumcision. The thing that I really don't like about this is that, you know, they originally advertised the Spider-Man No Way Home Blu-rays as having deleted scenes, which weren't on the actual Blu-rays. And with the exception of that after credits, I think everything here would have been better suited to a DVD menu. This would have all looked a lot better in the deleted scenes section. I'm definitely not fond of this precedent of re-releasing the film in cinemas after the Blu-rays release for the sake of deleted scenes. And it's like, and what are we going to be doing about a home release for this extended cut? Like, are we going to be getting deleted scenes on YouTube? Or are we getting a full Blu-ray release of this version of the film? Or are we getting another Blu-ray coming out which has the deleted scenes on it? Like, I feel like that is definitely quite an anti-consumer practice. It almost feels like you're kind of punishing those that bought the initial Blu-ray release. Or is this cut just going to be completely lost to time after its theatrical run? I'm going to say this: if they release a Blu-ray with this version of the film on it, like, you know, it's the More Fun Stuff version Blu-ray, I'm not going to buy that. There's no need to. I've seen the extended scenes now, and I'm fine with just like, yeah, I've seen them, that's fine. I don't need to see them again. Now, if you want to go into this completely blind, now's the point to click off, because I am going to talk a little bit about what you can expect, the overall placement of those extended scenes. I'm not going to spoil what they are in this section here, but I will tell you roundabouts what you can kind of expect. If you're going into this hoping to see more scenes devoted to Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, don't. There is a little bit of additional stuff dedicated to those two. It's nothing substantial. It's an extension of a scene that we've already got, and I can kind of give or take. I liked it, but I can give or take. The vast majority of the extended scenes are nearer the beginning of the film, in the first act, when Spider-Man's identity has just been revealed. If you want any new footage of the villains, again, don't. They're not here. Like, there's no extra footage of the villains. Aside from the elevator scene that was previously advertised, but again, it's just a quick comedic moment, and that's another thing, is the kind of content we've got here. It's all comedic. Like, the title, the More Fun Stuff version, was appropriate because everything here is now comedic stuff. It's more jokes. And they are jokes that actually do go on for quite a while in some cases. I think there was one that I definitely liked because it actually got its own little payoff at the end. There is like a sort of joke in the original film which is much better built up to in this version of the cut. So I'll talk about that in a bit when we go into the spoiler section. But if you're going into this hoping to see that fabled Tobey Maguire versus Willem Dafoe rematch, you're not getting that. When I did my wish list of things that I would love to see in that extended cut, I don't think a single one of those was in this film. And that's okay, I'm not mad, you know, that stuff was more hopes than expectations. Like, I'm not disappointed. It's like MJ says, expect disappointment and you can never be disappointed. I think something I did like was that there were certain like moments where they just used longer takes of certain shots, and the sound design is also slightly different in this one as well in places. Like, those are some fairly notable differences. On a whole though, like, yeah, it's not going to give you anything you've been asking for, it's just a little more, you know, just a little bit of extra fluff. There's a scene near the start of the film which is like a fully new sequence, and it goes on for quite a while. Like, if this had been in the original release, I would have probably criticized it for stopping the pacing dead in its tracks. Bottom line, like I said before, know what you're getting yourself into. It is just a bit more fun stuff. There's like no new action or anything like that, just a few extra jokes that didn't make it the first time around. So the next section is the spoiler section, where like I don't know if I can recite off the top of my head every single scene that was added to this one, but I will talk about some noteworthy moments, ones that were really good, ones that weren't so much. So quite a bulk of the extended scenes are the damage control stuff. We've got quite a bit more of Peter being interrogated. We've got a little bit more of Aunt May being interrogated as well. And there is a moment which it's an extra joke, but it's one that I probably would have left in the original cut, where the damage control guy is basically saying to Peter, okay, so you kind of destroyed the Washington Monument, there's London Bridge as well, Venice, like, is it just national landmarks? Do you have a vendetta against national landmarks or something? And this kind of becomes a subtle recurring gag throughout the film. Like, there's a moment where they've got a new scene of like a J. Jonah Jameson Jameson news report shortly after the first Electro fight, with J. Jonah Jameson interviewing a technician, and that was another good thing as well. Is like, I think the new Jameson stuff was really good, but like on the scrolling text below is like, does Spider-Man hate landmarks? And so there's this joke in the original cut of the film where Peter is like at the Statue of Liberty and he's talking to Jameson, and Jameson's like, good lord, he's going to destroy another landmark. That felt earned at that point. That I really liked. There's also a new, very short scene of Matt Murdock and Happy Hogan together, as they're kind of working through Happy Hogan's legal foibles. It's very short, but it is intercut with Spider-Man taking the villains to Happy's condo, and while Happy's talking to the legal team, he can see on his phone that Peter's brought all the villains into his condo, which naturally gets him a little bit more, like, nervous, I guess, and Matt tells him, stop sweating, and he's just like, how? That's a good little bonus scene, and it's a little more Matt Murdock as well, so Daredevil fans will be pleased. I feel like this, again, it would have been more effective if they'd released this prior to Spider-Man No Way Home's Blu-ray release, because we know that, like, Daredevil's appearing in She-Hulk, and that, you know, we're getting Daredevil Born Again. I feel like this would have been worth more if we didn't quite know what the future held for Daredevil. We've got an alternative little montage as well of Peter, Ned, and MJ in the Sanctum Sanctorum, where they're working together in the Undercroft looking at Doctor Strange's stuff, and it does feel like, yeah, this scene is very Doctor Strange-centric. A lot of the purpose of this scene is now the world of Doctor Strange from the perspective of Peter and his friends. It's one of those little crossover moments, I guess. But it's set to the Monster Mash, and I actually quite liked that. It's you know, it slows the pacing down a little bit, but in kind of a positive way. And for what you've been waiting for, is there more Tobey and Andrew? Yes. It's just before the fight at the Statue of Liberty where they're having the conversation about like Tobey's webs and such. And it's kind of this little gag about how Andrew Garfield Spider-Man wants to make like meeting up as like a regular thing and wants to get Tobey's number, and it's obviously, oh, well, they're from different dimensions. I don't know though, could that be hinting at potentially more crossovers between the three? I'm not taking anything for granted, but I'd be thrilled. I don't necessarily think it should be another MCU Spider-Man film, but I would definitely be game for these three to cross over again. And yeah, this does slow down the pacing quite a bit. That scene does now feel long. At the same time, as like a massive fan of these three Spideys, it's good for me. It's good for fans, this stuff. But like on like an overall objective basis, I guess, yes, it does slow the film down dead in its tracks. And it is just the three Peters talking, but it is helped by just how good the chemistry is between the three Peter actors. Something they were very lucky to have, actually. Like, there's no guarantee that these three were going to have as good chemistry as they did, but lo and behold, yeah, they work really well together. And this little bit of extra time with them, yeah, I'm happy with that. Again, would have been better on a DVD menu. That's the main thing here. So here's a scene that I'm pretty mixed on. It's near the start of the film. It's where Peter gets the green paint all over his suit. It's a scene that features Peter apprehending a robber who's actually played by Tom Holland's brother. And that's actually quite cool, seeing some day-to-day stuff of Spider-Man now that his identity is revealed. But it is definitely played off for laughs. As like there's a woman that leaves the store and she's like, oh, you're not old enough to do that. You need to stop this Spider-Man stuff. It's over. And then there's this guy coming out of his car and he's like, look, he's not a kid anymore. He's 14. And it is a funny scene. Like, as far as MCU humor stuff goes, it is a funny scene. And I did really like having a little bit of extra Spider-Man in there, but I can absolutely see why this was cut. Because, again, it does just feel almost kind of like a Saturday Night Live skit. Again, happy to have it, would have been happier to have it on a DVD menu. Then there's new stuff at Midtown High. And this stuff here is quite a mixed bag. There's nothing here that I don't like, but again, it's about the service of the pacing of the film. Now, there were a lot of people joking that Angouria Rice, who plays Betty Brunt, made it to the poster for the Spider-Man No Way Home More Fun Stuff version, but she actually gets substantially more to do in these scenes. Perhaps a little too much, but let me back up a little bit. We see a lot more of how, like, life at Midtown High now for Peter is just completely unlivable. I think this is where the majority of these extended minutes went. We've got Peter's gym class goading him on to climb a wall, and then they're insulting him as he climbs it, which I liked, but then we've got this whole segment of Betty Brunt doing interviews with Peter and his friends. And I think it was only like 2-3 minutes, but it definitely felt like more. There was a point where it's like, if I were watching this for the first time, watching the original cut, I would be getting impatient to see what happens next now. I guess I did like that they kind of gave a few things from Far From Home a little more closure. If you like the teacher characters, they're a bit more present in this version. And we do get just a tiny baby bit of closure for Ned and Betty's relationship. One thing I did like was that Midtown High were holding a contest to kind of predict how the Statue of Liberty redesign would look, and one of the kids had like a Mysterio statue. I don't know if intentional or not, but that ended up being a reference to Spider-Man 2 the game, which is, ooh, what a deep cut. That makes me really happy. And just another little reference of our fishbowl overlord, of course. Probably the best part of this entire re-release was the new after credits scene, which was a video made by Betty Brant for Graduation, which kind of gives us a very sentimental look back on the events of the previous movies from Homecoming all the way to No Way Home. But Peter is completely absent this time. One, that's heartbreaking, because we're seeing all of those relationships build up over that time, and Peter doesn't get to be a part of any of it now. He's not a part of anyone's memories. Two, this actually answers kind of a question I had when I first saw the original version. Yes, the spell makes everyone forget Peter Parker is Spider-Man, but what happens to all of the evidence that Peter Parker is Spider-Man? For example, Mysterio's video revealing Spider-Man's secret identity. What happens to these metaphysical materials in universe that reveal that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and what is to stop people from looking back at that stuff? This after credits proves that all evidence that Peter Parker is Spider-Man has been completely erased from the universe now. Now, we did actually have a little nod to that in the original release with the GED studies book, implying that Peter's basically lost all of his high school grades. You know, the one thing I'm most worried about is his US citizenship. So overall, Spider-Man No Way Home, the more fun stuff version. As a fan, I was satisfied, and I mean, it's still a great damn film. Like, while this stuff does interfere with the pacing a little bit, it's still a great film. If this had been the film that had released the first time around, definitely be a bit more uneven, but it's still a really good film. Everything that was great about the original, still here. Folks who have seen it, try not to spoil it for others, but what did you think of it? Discuss in the comments below, and I'll be there chatting with you guys. Alright, roll the outro. I say, you've made it to the end of the video! Congrats. No, but seriously, thanks a bunch for watching. And just now, I'll be extending a special thanks to the patrons in the $10 tier, who are the amazing Adam Myers, the courageous Ken K, the legendary Ray Ray, the magnificent Mr. SP, and the super Sergio. What an amazing and generous bunch of people. Thank you guys so much for your support. And if you want to join the ranks of these amazing people right here, the link to my Patreon is in the description below. Guys, these are not the easiest times in the world financially, so every little bit you folks are donating is doing wonders. I really would love to be able to do YouTube as a proper fully fledged career someday. It might just be a pipe dream, but maybe you guys can prove some people wrong. But of course, if donations aren't your thing, then, well, it means plenty to me that you just hit that cute little subscribe button over there. I didn't mean hit that way. Well, that's me done for today. Thanks a whole bunch for your support, and have a fantastic day. I'm gonna see you so soon.
Look.